at the moment. So
Sure.
let's go for it.
Cool. So we're on our next topic, also incredibly important, why relationships are failing. And I've called it 70% of relationships are failing. And here's why. Hopefully we're going to find out here's why. I've got an opinion on here's why, what the reason is. And sometimes when I'm talking, I'm just going to introduce myself as well. So my 5 minutes has started as well. So I'm a Muslim.
Oh
I
no,
do
you can.
happiness. I can Whatever. I'm
Yeah.
a Muslim. I do happiness classes. I don't do just plain academic discussions. I talk about things that really affect us all, personal and global. That's my little intro. And I want to quickly, sometimes I feel like people think this is just an academic discussion. I just feel like showing this guy's face to make my point, right? So this guy, my cousin just showed me this article in the Guardian newspaper. Um, Increasing number of, I would say, white British people not in relationships, okay, childless and extremely regretting it. And it's really painful to see that you will end up alone, be lonely. And this is, I would say 70%. So in this particular article, it says, what percent? A quarter of UK men over 42 do not have children, right? I think it's going to get a lot worse. That's the older generation who had more family values. That's what they got. It's going to get worse. And the quick summary of what happened to him and many other people is they thought it would just happen that they tried out different relationships. If they didn't like it, they'll leave it. But because they didn't have the Islamic values that says you should pick well in the first place by people who have the same principles of staying in a relationship, um, and understand the principle to stay in a relationship, like patience and things like that, and not just looking at people's appearances, um, which is what we do a lot in the West. And also having all the systems to enable that, like arranged marriages, and which we used to have in the West, which is called introductions in England. Um, those things are all falling apart. Religion is falling apart. Religion used to bring communities together so people can meet each other in a better way than the apps are failing to do. And so all these terrible things are happening, and people are becoming increasingly lonely. Um, and that's kind of like I would say the major problem. Um, this is a continuation of a discussion we had last week, and I'm not going to be able to go through all the points really quickly, um, but I want to point out. What do I want to point out? Uh, Such a long list, and it's quite impossible to do in 5 minutes. But okay, uh, what was I going to say? Why? Okay, I'll just go. So a lot the reasons why people are failing in relationships. There's two different levels. There's the direct level, which is people don't understand people. Everybody has to have some sort of responsibility in the relationship. We call them gender roles often. Okay, you take responsibility that you're biologically best suited to. People don't like that, and generally they don't have a sense of responsibility. They just believe in freedom. That's destroying relationships. But further back is they don't understand the repercussions. People, not, especially in the West, where people have lost their sense of spirituality and inner reflection and thinking ahead even, okay, they don't realize what's lying in wait for them. And what's lying in wait for them is loneliness. And the Quran, I thought I pasted some sort of verse of the Quran on this, but anyway, there is a verse of the Quran that talks about having children so you have something to look forward to. And it's described as sort of farming. It sounds terrible, but it's what you do in farming. You sow seeds for the future. You plan ahead, and people don't seem to have any foresight in the West anymore because of the lack of spirituality, which has stopped them from the introspection. Now, people are saying, there's so many reasons why relationships are failing. Besides that, One of them are things like lack of responsibility. What kind of responsibility? To have sex with each other, for example. This is one of the reasons why so many relationships are failing. I'm just going to point out one. Love is a great, I'm just picking a random point for my last point. Love is a great burden. I think that's what Dust said. I think love is kindness, and we have to show kindness to everybody, and not just within our relationships. What we find in the West is people are exclusive in their love. It's called being in a romantic relationships, and that's one thing that doesn't work. So in the West, we don't even understand love. Okay, love is something you do to everybody in the community, and you don't suddenly become loving when you're in a relationship. If you have that attitude, you've been trained out of the ability to truly love, because if you're only loving inside a relationship, you're doing it as a sort of transaction, that this person is really hot, I'm going to be loving towards them because they're really hot. That is not kind. That is not real love. Real love is simply kindness. That's what I've got to say about that. I think that's about 5 minutes. I don't know if somebody is timing it, but it felt like about 5 minutes.
You got a minute.
I've got a minute. Okay, so I'll go through.
40 seconds, sorry. 40 seconds.
Sure. I'll go to another point from Josh. I'm picking, there's so many points I didn't cover last time when we talked about what makes relationships work. So marriage is not for everybody. That's also a lie. We're all social. This is another big problem because of our lack of honesty with the facts. The facts is we often say in the West that different things make different people happy. Actually, we're all built the same. We all biologically have the same needs. And one of those major needs is have close connections, and marriage does that. And that's actually the beginning. If we can't handle marriage, then we can't form families, then we can't form communities. Okay, marriage is the practice of being connected. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So
I'll just go on.
Woo. Sam is back. It's good to have another voice on this debate. So I'll start my stopwatch, 5 minutes. And
so women are not included in this discussion or debate?
They can choose to.
There is going to be.
I saw that women are not invited as part of the terms of the.
You're using your 5 minutes. Yeah, you could. Claire doesn't feel like it. I don't know.
Right.
There is a woman on that way.
We do have a lady in the house to try and little bit of balance.
Oh, in your house, literally.
Literally in my house as we speak. So we can remedy that criticism very shortly, hopefully. Okay, 5 minutes starting now. 5 minutes each, because we could try and keep this one. Sure. It's me speaking. Sorry. So 5 minutes for me. So love is the most beautiful, passionate, and beautiful emotion a human being can have, and marriage is only a secular representation of that. God, if you believe in God, that is, doesn't need pieces of paper to clarify reality. He just knows that two human beings love each other, or whatever your thing is, and with love humanity grows, and love is mutual understanding between two people, for me, and with that you can grow together collectively and be part of a community. I mean, Khaled's commentary of the West is very much to try and suit his own Abrahamic agenda, which is really just to have this concept that the only people that can feel love is somebody that looks like Khaled, an Abrahamic representative of society. And anybody that steps out of that dictated concept of a human being is utterly trashed in the bin. Being love, having sex, these are wonderful facets of a human being. And in a society that has clear laws defining sex regarding when a woman says no, and Oh, I've just been distracted.
Oh, there's a. You can do it on the cooker. Actually, you can light it on the cooker. Do you want me to? Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yeah, I'll do that. You do right. You do your 5 minutes, and
Okay.
then I'll add. I have 4 minutes in lieu.
Okay. Well, my position on love and relationships, it has to be based on empathy, understanding, on mutual reciprocity. It has to be. I mean, I suppose those are quite obvious ones, really. But for me, I think a lot of relationships now fail because I think because of a lack of understanding and a lack of mutuality. And I think because we kind of live in an age where we've been conditioned to be in it for ourselves, and I think that's not always been that hasn't been a very good thing. That's been a pretty destructive precept, if you like. And I also think that if we are prepared to lend ourselves to each other in a relationship, we really have to I think forgiveness as well is also something that should be preached. Well, I don't want to sound too sanctimonious, but I certainly think that while love is based on understanding, we don't want to make it a conditional contract. We want to make it a mutual contract. You don't just tick all the right boxes and tick all the terms of the contract, agree to all the terms of the contract. You're in a relationship. You have to negotiate those terms in an understanding and loving and caring way, so that your interests don't conflict with the other person's, and vice versa. I think that's my overall. That's my overarching point about it. I think also another thing is that in such an unforgiving, hostile world, we're always going to be suspicious of each other. Even to those we love. In fact, especially to those we love, and it's a very tragic story. We get very vindictive of those who are closest to us because they can do us the most harm. In theory, like you're far more likely to be a victim of say, for example, a criminal act that is committed by someone and have quite a close association with, and it just goes to show that we're really going down a very self-destructive path. And yeah, I think that love really does have to be about about acceptance, forgiveness, understanding, empathy, and more than anything else, generosity, an element of selflessness. Although you obviously you don't want to sell yourself out to somebody. That would just be completely and utterly one-sided. But yeah, I think that love is about a lot of things. It's about trust. It's about integrity, and it's about standards, but not criterions at the same time.
Sit in the middle.
Even though there has to be mutual, common ground between people who love each other, Yeah.
Hello.
Is that enough?
Hello.
Can we get people there? Shall I go further back?
So, introduction.
Hi, I'm Tasmin.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hey,
Okay, cool. And shall we wait for? Should we have a lady?
Where?
So shall we have our first lady to comment, since we have
yeah,
already,
no,
and then we'll
yeah.
Sam, you have a go after. And what was your name? Sorry again.
My name's Tasmin.
Tasmin. Okay, go for it, Tasmin. We're
Catch
trying
me
to
up,
keep
'cause
it to.
catch me up a little bit because I've just got.
Oh,
here.
okay. Okay, so do you, go on.
Yeah.
Lost intro.
So it's just we're talking about what it is to be a woman in a modern society, the pressures, and revolving dominantly around relationships. And do you need to be in a relationship? Do you need to be married to be in a relationship?
Okay.
And why are relationships failing is the main point of this particular thing.
Mm.
Talk.
So why? Firstly, why do you think relationships are failing?
Yeah, that's the real main thing. Yeah.
No, you say.
That's
Okay.
that you say.
I think that's a loaded question, by the way.
No, but
Yeah.
that was the topic. Why is
Yeah.
but that's the whole. That was the name of the stream. Yeah, go on.
Okay.
I know. I'm just saying
All
it's
right.
loaded.
So from my
Yeah.
perspective, there is a lot of pressure on women, like traditionally, to be, you know, to have children, to just have children, get married, stay at home. That's it. You're the breeder. You create the child for the man. You're like, you know, they say women came from a man's rib. I think that's all half.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Are we allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Okay, yeah, I think that's all bullshit, to be honest. I do think there are some positives to tradition. I'm a very modern woman, but I am very maternal. I'm very traditional in some ways, but I feel like we've moved on as a society. I'm not going to live my life for a man or for just a relationship. Relationships are very important and essential to human functioning. You know, empathy is very important, but I don't need that as the catalyst of my identity. I am my own person, and I feel like it's very important for women in society to be their own person first, and then be a solid being, confident on themselves first, and then give themselves to a relationship to someone that's also confident in themselves. I don't need to be, you know, live my life for a partner.
And should the law treat you equally? And
Yeah. 100%.
So why do you think having law which should stand up for you is so important?
Because, okay, 1 in 20 women in relationships are murdered by their partners. 1 woman dies every week from domestic violence, and these are like shocking to me. I've been to women's shelters. I've seen people, like even young women, like 16, 18 years old, being battered by their partners. I'm seeing generational effects of young kids being brought up in abusive relationships. I'm seeing kids, you know, with dad not around. So then why should that single mother then not have her own identity and be able to be herself when the partner's not even there?
And do you think it's important for a state to protect and support a single woman with the children?
Yes, because children are pure. They've done nothing wrong. Children do not ask to be born. Children are brought into this world of not on their own accord. So the law should protect the children first, and mothers specifically, because without women there would be no children. Obviously men play a part in that, but women are life givers, but that's not all they are.
And do you think, like in America, for example, they have a very Abrahamic Christian way of dealing with single mothers, which is basically leave them no support, no help?
Yeah, I feel like they're going back 100 years. They're like, you know, children born out of wedlock are still basically considered bastards, like to most of American conservatives. You know, they look down on them. They see them as like, oh, probably got pregnant while they were young, probably a bit wayward, you know, a tart with a heart kind of thing. And not seeing her as actually this is someone that's given life to something and is going to make the best life for that child, especially in America, especially with, you know, the rise of Trump and Republicans again. It's mental. Like, why are, you know, religion is very important to most people, but religion and culture is a very different thing. I do think that just because Christianity is a central religion in America, you should not impose your beliefs and what's written in a religious book on. It shouldn't influence laws, if that makes sense. It should. Does that make sense?
I think
I mean,
human beings should influence laws, not religious
Yes.
dictators influence
So
laws.
I'm quite a liberal person, and I'm willing to stand up for someone's right and say, okay, that's your religion. You should be able to practice that in what way you can, but don't impose that on my right. It shouldn't have any legal bearing.
And so, do you think are you still a good woman, even though you're not married and in a relationship with somebody you love? Are you still a good person?
Of course I am. I've got a good heart and I'm a good person, you know, not to get too personal, but I look after people that are very ill for my job. And I really care about my job. I care about each one of my patients. I'm a very good person. I have good relationships with good friendships, good relationships, you know, family's very important, but I don't need to be married and I don't need a binding legal contract to say, okay, you're a woman now because you're married and you have children and you know, scrub dishes all day.
Which Khalid, the Abrahamic representative here, would also make you a second-class citizen as well. That's fantastic. You've been succinct, beautiful, and passionate, and a lot, and everything you said, I completely agree with as well.
So Dusty's you're gonna do 4 minutes.
I got 3 minutes left.
3 minutes, and then Sam, then Claire, then we'll
Actually,
do
we'll
1
hear
minute
Sam
each.
now because
Yeah. Okay, it's
Sam,
up to you.
I'll go last because
All right.
makes much more sense.
Okay, cool. Go for it, Sam.
All right. Well, I'll tell you that I delayed marriage for as long as I could because of many reasons why that I was inhibited by modern day relationships and modern day marriages and the way they fail most often. And it's statistical, too many studies and polls and too much evidence of it is the divorce rate and obviously the fact that by Tasman just made it known that a lot of people prefer to live outside of a relationship and somewhat isolated from a partner when it comes to heterosexual marriages or heterosexual relationships. So it's now become the norm in the West that people that at the age of a marriage choose to delay it for as long as possible or not have it be done at all or not bring children into the world. And I see it as a deliberate again social engineering policy. I have a very conspiratorial approach to all of this, that it's puppet masters pulling strings, and in the West it's all about population control and limiting freedoms, and it's spoken out of the mouths. These words are spoken out of the mouths of social engineers found in the World Economic Forum and found amongst the elites, where your King Charles is one of the main contributors to the World Economic Forum. They say the more people there are, the less freedoms they should be given, and the less room they should be given, and the less ability to have children or to have normal, supposedly what used to be normal nuclear families. They see themselves as the sort of deciders, the controllers, the arbiters of our lives if we live in their countries. And they still see themselves as, they call themselves the sovereigns, right? And even in America, you have your oligarchical class there that take the position of again wokeism for to make everybody feel good, but at the same time to limit their ability to have families and to grow as far. They want to control growth. They want to reduce growth for the sake of climate control, climate change, whatever their latest, most fashionable, agenda is. Too many people, not enough room, not enough resources, and so that is their selling. These are their selling points. So, what happens now is that there is an urge. Even for men, there's a biological clock. There's a biological urge that drives them. I was feeling that if I did not, throw myself, like a blind leap of faith, and throw myself in there, and finally go for the role of being a father and reach that objective, reach that goal, even if the relationship wouldn't work out, wouldn't succeed. Because I delayed it, and I was like nearing my 40s. I was 38 years old, and the woman I ended up having my son with was older than me by a few years. It again, there's so much baggage, and at a certain age, you can't really
1 minute.
you can't really meld, or you can't really find a way to sort of compromise. Everybody's settled in their own lives, and they're all, you become too independent. And the longer you delay long-term relationships and marriage, the harder it'll become later in life, because people can't compromise when they get older. And those are one of the major reasons why marriages fail. Yeah.
Claire, Claire, and then Dust, isn't it? Right, go for it, Claire. 5 minutes.
Thank you. I kind of wondered about the terms of the question, because you asked relationships, and you think, what sort of relationships? Platonic relationships, gay relationships, lesbian relationships, boyfriend girlfriend relationships that don't lead to marriage. What is the excuse me? What are the conditions of failure, and what are the conditions of success? And then it occurred to me that really the only relationships that really matter to the government, to the state, would be marriages, and whether people marry before having children, and whether these marriages end in divorce when the parents don't stay together for the sake of the children, and this causes social problems of underachievement and a burgeoning criminal class from the caused by the unmarried parents of illegitimate offspring who underachieve at school. They don't get the jobs they could get because they get into the school system. They disrupt classes. They become juvenile delinquents. They become victims of child sexual abuse because they run away, because their mother has a string of unsuitable lovers who more or less queue up outside a bedroom, maybe waiting to abuse the children.
Could I just, because I can see somebody, I can't remember your name, sister. What was your name beginning with T?
Tasmin?
Tasmin. She's doubting what you're saying. Could you just point out this is a statistical thing? Because it might sound like you're just giving your opinions, Claire. I'm just saying.
Also, just so we all know, other people can make statements. It's just it's got to be succinct, and I think we should keep it. I think everyone should not abuse that.
I'm not abusing my time, am I? I
know
you don't like what I'm saying.
Me, possibly. I was just clarifying, just to... Okay, go on.
Everyone's allowed to make statements. You can interact with what others are saying. Just don't abuse that privilege of making a statement, and just be succinct as possible when making a statement over someone else's allotted time.
It's okay. I've got three minutes and 11 seconds left. And
you've got plenty of time. And you get bonus time as well.
Thank you. So I'm saying, it's obviously a problem. Statistically, we know that children from fatherless homes are overrepresented in the prison statistics. Most convicted prisoners come from fatherless homes. That's a clear source of chaos and criminality in our society. And this is because people don't even think they should marry before having children, or if they marry, they don't think they should stay together for the sake of the children. So we get, generations of badly parented, mentally ill, drug addicted children who grow up into delinquent adolescents and criminal adults, and nobody will say a thing. They absolutely think that there is no problem with this sort of thing, or they will look at you funny for even pointing it out. So so it goes back to religion and the national interest. It is in the national interest to have a religion that basically forces people into marriage before they have children, and should treat them as sex offenders if they don't bother with the process. This is all about reproductive rights, about whether people who can't find anybody to marry them ought to be having children, and the consequence of allowing just any Tom, Dick, and Harry to pump and dump women who, think the welfare state will be their hubby, their daddy, and which means that the taxpayer is picking up the tab and getting worse and worse schools for their children, getting more corrupt and incompetent government who won't address their problem. So really, I'm saying that the only relationships that the government ought to care about is not gay relationships or lesbian relationships or any kind of relationship. Maybe it should care about business relationships because it adds to GDP. But obviously, it should care about the quality of the parenting of the next generation, so that the nation produces people, school leavers that are suitable, that are desirable employees of the future. The government doesn't think of that at all. It only cares about winning elections, as it tells us lies and bribes
30
us
seconds.
to so again, my point is that the only relationships that the government should care about are marriages, which they should encourage and protect. But actually, they're just producing, giving us all kinds of marriage substitutes to show that they don't want us to marry. They want us to die childless. They want us to
Okay.
gay and sterilize ourselves in order to be transgender.
Thank you very much for being so professional with time. I think Tasmin would like to make a quick statement.
So, thanks for speaking. I just felt like what you were saying was very a reductionist view, and I just wanted to ask about.
It's got to be a statement, not a question.
Okay.
Make
No,
it just
We can talk later. I am
Right.
interested in
I just
any
was
questions
thinking
you want
what
to
you were
ask
saying
me.
was very reductionist, and the idea that the only marriages that the government should, the only relationships the government should worry about is heterosexual marriages between a man and woman is absolutely ridiculous, because that is not the current society we live in. Who's to say that a marriage between a man and a woman is not on the same level as a marriage between two
No
heterosexual people?
offspring.
I think that was a statement made, and I think it's absolutely a wonderful statement. Josh, 5 minutes. You've got 1 minute. We all get another 1 minute to conclude.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I think that the government has to be concerned. Yes, thank you. With I think the government has to be concerned. With all forms of relationship, particularly where particularly if the terms of the relationship have been violated in some way, whether it's civil partnerships or or just cohabiting couples, particularly if these terms, I don't want to make it sound too contractual or formal, but certainly if the terms of the relationship have been violated, if it becomes a very abusive relationship, I think the government has every right to get involved if the interests, like in a legitimate legal sense, they have every right to get involved if it's become abusive, because that's a threat to one or more's dignity, and rights, So I don't think we can just apply it exclusively to marriages. Of course, I do value the sanctity of marriage. It's not to disagree with you entirely, but it certainly shouldn't just be confined to that one thing. And moreover, if we only confine it to marriages, then we're not really promulgate. We're not really promoting the fact that anyone who's currently in a non-marital relationship can or should get married. We're just shunning and ostracizing those who haven't, which is probably maybe a bit counterproductive. I mean, I suppose you could say that it has the sort of negative thing. It has the effect in relation to your argument of encouraging people to get married, but I think that's negative encouragement. Is not a very, people often viscerally, instinctively resist negative encouragement. I mean, we've all heard of the saying, you attract more bees with honey and not vinegar. So I think we want to ensure that, you know, marriage and relationships, civil relationships, they're all included. You know, it is after all the said and done, people's, you know, choice, people's choice, whether, you know, legal choice, whether or not they want to get married, or in whichever way they want to officially legalize their officially formalize / legally formalize their relationship. You know, we really do have to ensure that all parties are included in that. But I do think that marriage, you know, obviously I do think that marriage is still a very precious, you know, as you would say, a very precious thing. It's not entirely to disagree with you. It's a highly cherished thing. But if we are to ensure the sanctity of marriage, we don't want to make it an exclusive club. Otherwise, it becomes elitist, and it just essentially undermines what it's all about in the end. You know, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I think our speakers so far really just want to spend their lives hurting other people. That's their premise of their construction of the world around them, that they have something maybe missing in themselves, which is an emptiness, a hollowness, and they try to fill that vacuous void with the concept of a God that they've made up in their own minds. And with that as a power base, decided that this sort of behavior is wrong and this sort of behavior is correct. When the truth is, they've just literally woke up one morning and decided that their void is so righteous that they can now dictate on not only a community level, but on a nation state level, their displeasure with reality, all reality. Because fundamentally, Khalid keeps coming on to these channels to say he wants a happy community. Is this true? Certainly never demonstrated that. What he has demonstrated, he wants Khalid to be happy. That's what he's always demonstrated. But when someone doesn't fit into the Abrahamic vision of a human being, suddenly this pleasure, which, by the way, Khalid never invented the Abrahamic religion. He merely had no choice, but was grown up and forced into this philosophy, this man-made philosophy, by more very rich and very powerful and family members. And he has very little choice when it comes to having tools through which to actually develop a community which is truly happy, rather than constantly belittling and moaning about what other people are doing in their own private lives. Because that's what it fundamentally comes down to. If you are gay, want to get married in a mosque, a synagogue, or a church, and that should be absolutely allowed. And no matter what, that married couple are contributing wonderfully to society. But like anybody else, no matter what you identify as, all countries, the whole planet does have laws which, if you transcend, if you impose upon those laws, like murder someone else, hate somebody else, then there's punishment. And that punishment is there clearly defined for everyone on the planet. It's called a human right. And that human right law extends to everybody that does identify as a human being. We should imagine would be everybody. But I've got 10 seconds. So to conclude, we've had 2,500 years of misery from the Abrahamic religions. And we've had about, 10 years, 20 years of laws here in the UK that are now you're allowed to be gay in this country without going to prison.
It was homosexuality in the UK was legalised in 1967, but gay marriages are much more recent.
Gay marriage, yeah, gay marriage. So that's only a recent phenomenon against 2,500 years of utter genocide, horror, and repression. concluded.
Cool. So shall we do the 1 minute thing each, and then we'll wind it up? Is that what the plan was, right?
That seems, yeah, because we got one more subject. Is that correct?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Got
then
Josh's,
definitely one
yeah.
more minute.
Sure, cool. So who was first? I think I was first because it was the topic I picked, wasn't it? Yeah. So I'll quickly. So 1 minute. I agree. We shouldn't force anything on anybody, right? And the reason I picked this topic because it's incredibly sad that I can see statistically. You can see our current the people who are turning 40, 50 years old at the moment are a quarter of them are childless, both men and women, and that's part of the backdrop of a lot of loneliness already in London and England. Loneliness being the biggest killer in London, and you're going to be even more lonely when you don't have children, if you don't have children when you're old. And the big problem is that people are not planning not to have children. It's by accident because they didn't plan or didn't have a plan of action right from the beginning. And that's why I propose these religious ideas, that you have a plan right from the beginning, that you want children, because what happens is careers take over. This is just what happens statistically, and before you know it, people are ending up childless. I'm just saying it's a painful situation. I'm not forcing it on anybody. I'm just saying this is a big problem unless you think clearly about what you want in life. That's all.
Thank you. Sam, would you like to go? I'll go last.
All right. Yeah. I think at this point, if you want to deconstruct how we got to where we are, it's not that difficult. The Western world has become overly decadent, overly materialistic. It has nothing to do as a response to the patriarchy or the Abrahamic faith or Abrahamic religions. It's basically a cycle of decay and decline in the historical cycles of rise and fall of empires, and we are in a state of decay. This is very symptomatic. Everything we're seeing in our world, the Western world especially, many analysts and historians have looked at it, and they see all of the symptoms, and they see all of the phenomenon that had appeared over many cycles of history, and we're just in another episode of decay and decline.
Thank
stage.
you. Claire,
Mm-hmm.
1 minute. Time's yours.
Sam was talking about the decline of the West, and I think the decline of the West has been caused by Westerners no longer respecting the institution of marriage. Marriage is a universal practice. It's not just confined to the West. I mean, the whole idea is basically whatever your group, your nation, your tribe, you need to produce young in order for your group, tribe, etc., to remain in existence. And the best way of producing them is to find somebody prepared to marry you and stay with you for the sake of the children. And this way you bring up a more high quality next generation than to be a single mother who is pumped and dumped and who impoverishes herself and whose children are traumatized by child sexual abuse because one of your or more than one of your unsuitable boyfriends who cohabit with you are in fact child sex abusers. So that is why marriage has to be emphasized. Thank you for letting me speak.
Wonderful. I'll go next if everyone, Khalid, are happy with that.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you use suicide and people that have died in misery is abhorrent to me. The way you use it to back up your case. We live in a decade now and more of austerity, which has stripped away the absolute humanity away from our communities, stripped away our laws, our police, vital services like the National Health Service, stripped away everything it is to wake up and be a human being. And this is all done underneath the Abrahamic dream of reality. And I'm glad that Sam doesn't like capitalism. It's one first thing me and Sam have agreed on here, I believe, that terrible decadence which they sell as the only way a human being can exist is absolutely gross. I completely agree with that. But yeah, the way you're using suicide to back up your case is disgraceful. That's me done. Josh or Tasmin, who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
All right.
I think what Claire was saying about, Westerners have lost their way because we don't respect the institution, to me is absolutely laughable. There's no institution that any person with morals would respect at this point. And, the institution is crumbled, and it's a good thing that it's crumbled because it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all part of capitalism. It's all part of submission. It's all part of keeping people in their place. The people at the top have the power, do what they want, just to keep the small people, the masses under their thumb. Keep them, this is your plan. You grow up, you turn 15, 16, get married, have children. The man goes to work, the woman stays at home. The idea that children of couples that aren't married are more likely to turn into sex abusers is fucking ridiculous. I don't know where you got that piece of information from.
1 minute. You finished there. You finished. You can finish your sentence.
Yeah, and just to finish off there, there's so many ways to contribute to society, and in your work, in your politics, in your relationships, in your what you put out into the world, what you create as a person. It does not need to be marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Well, just coming back to the original point about how we don't want to patronize and sort of emotionally blackmail people into marriage by telling them that if you're not married, you're not as good as a person as someone who is. I think that's just totally self-defeating if you want to uphold marriage as an institution, which may explain in opposite to what Tasmin said about why it's crumbling. You've got to give people a choice, and positive encouragement to marry if you are to I don't want to make it like it's some marketable commodity, but if you want to promote it as a virtuous institution, you don't start convincing people who aren't. You don't start putting them down and discouraging them.
10 seconds.
You just simply provide them with a passively, albeit firmly, positive case that it is one of love and of understanding, of empathy, of forgiveness.
Fantastic. And last but by no means least, it's our great Khaled.
Oh, really? I thought I had my last minute. Wasn't it Claire? Claire, did you say your bit? Last 1 minute?
Or maybe
has everybody had their go?
I just had crime statistics. What was where I got my ideas from?
No.
Jasmine.
We need to,
like a 1 minute roundup.
You can post.
Did you have
Khaled
that?
You can post it on the comments so people can read it in the comments.
Oh no, I was just checking
YouTube.
if everybody had their 1 minute final say. That's all.
Yeah, everyone's had their 1 minute, I think. Say
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all I want to say is thank you so much. Everybody's come up with really strong points, and that's kind of the point of this discussion, where you have people from different perspectives giving the strongest arguments they know. And I think we've reflected many of different sides of society, and that's the point of it. And then, because often what happens is we don't have people from different perspectives talking and expressing their ideas, and kind of, when we put those ideas together, maybe we all learn from them. Who knows? But I hope we're all learning from them in different ways. We don't have to necessarily agree with it on the stream, but we can think about it afterwards when we play it back in our heads or play this video back. So really appreciate everybody just being here in such a civil way and saying their bit. I think that's great. I think that's really important. Thank you.
Yay! Clap everyone.
Yeah.
And the next topic is?
Okay, so the next topic
And last-
I basically phrased as "Can children be criminals?" And I've already put the link to the stream in the live chat, and also I put a link to, if you want to be on camera, you can join as well. So I'm just going to end the stream here. Do copy the link before we close off in a few seconds. So yeah. All right. Or just go to my channel if you don't get the link in time or something. And
Sorry,
you'll see
Callie, we're
the
not
next version.
abandoning you. We're just,
That's all right.
we're
You're getting a
just
packet
out
of
for
cribs, game for a
breather.
fag. Yeah, I saw that.
Is that all right? Sorry if
That's
we
all
weren't
right.
being rude, were we?
No. It's all very casual. All right. Sam, by the way, you should stay in contact. Just email me sometime. We should do a stream together or something.
Yeah.
Because one-to-one streams, you can go into more detail as well. It'd be really interesting.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, so my email is really easy. Can you see my name, Khaled Safir, on the top
Yeah.
corner? Just KhaledSafir@gmail.com. Email me and we should do a stream, like one-to-one.
All right, no problem.
Cool. All right, cool. So I'm just going to end the stream.
All right, I found the stream to the other.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.